Frantic Assembly is a theatre company and we've been making and touring work for 28 years. We've taken our work and our methodology of making work all across the globe, and our work is taught in schools, colleges and universities all over. Our production of Othello came about as a suggestion from another director. You should do Othello. And it felt like such a strange thing to say, especially at a time when we were really looking to make a show about our contemporary landscape, the world that we lived in. So it sat on a back burner while we're trying to work out how to do that. But the more I read it, I realised that Othello was the vehicle to actually explore this world that we live in. The tensions, the anger, the jealousy, the rage, it was all there. And it became this really thrilling experience of being able to see our world through the words of Shakespeare. While I was trying to work out how I was going to make this show about contemporary UK, I was actually working on an advert, and that involved sitting in a fake pub for about a week. And at the same time I was reading Othello and trying to get my head around that. And then as I looked up from what I was reading, I looked around the pub and realised that the whole structure of society was here in microcosm. And there were areas that you graduated to, areas that the young people hung around in, and then the stronger people moved into and claimed as their own. And outside of all of this was a bouncer who kept all the values of that environment safe. They were championed, but they weren't allowed in. And I looked back to Othello, and that's when I realised Othello was the perfect vehicle to create this show about contemporary UK and all its tensions. I think what sets Frantic Assembly apart is our focus on the physical. We as human beings spend so much of our lives understanding our environment and expressing ourselves within that environment physically. And audiences are brilliant at reading those signals and understanding what's going on. The physicality within Frantic Assembly's work can range from the highly dynamic to the incredibly tender or gentle. The physicality within Othello has to match the muscularity of the text. And this is a really important point to make. This is not about adapting the text into a modern vernacular. This comes with a respect for the text. This is the original text, and the physicality matches that power. It's just as violent, it's just as loving, it's full of rage and lust. As I was reading the text, I was falling in love with it, and it became clear to me that I wanted to hold on to it. I wanted to make a show that felt blisteringly contemporary, but with the original language. And the show would exist as some kind of hybrid of our world.
Aye, there's the point, as to be bold with you, not to affect many proposed matches of our own clime, complexion and degree, whereto we see in all things nature tends. For one may smell in such a will most rank, foul disproportion, thoughts unnatural, but I beg your pardon, I do not in position distinctly speak of her, though I may fear her will, recoiling to its better judgment, may fall to match you with her country forms, and happily repent.
If more thou dost perceive, let me know more.
And that led on very nicely to the choice of music, which is a band called Hybrid, who do exactly that. They use classical music with real heavy dance beats as well, and make it feel like it's the most natural thing in the world. So that was always my aim, for it to feel like it's a contemporary show, utterly clear, but the language is Shakespeare's. That all of those tensions and energies and angers and all of that rage comes to the forefront and feels utterly visceral, utterly real, and totally now. The production is hugely energetic, but I don't see that at odds with the text at all. I think that's entirely justified within the text. This is a violent world. This is an incredibly exciting world. And our job is to try and capture that physically, try to represent some of that energy. And it makes for an incredibly exciting experience, both to perform and to watch. I think it's one of the many brilliant things about Shakespeare's work is that it always manages to reflect the times that we live in. And when we first set out to create our version of Othello, we were very much inspired by fairly recent race riots, and we saw that there was a very similar pattern of racial tension within Othello. And now returning to it, it's changed again. There is still the racial tension, that's still just as valid. It's just now what we see is how that is used. It's how truths and lies, they don't exist anymore. It's all about manipulation. It's about how the information becomes the poison that affects change. And I think it's incredibly current because of that. We created our production of Othello originally 14 years ago, and this is the third time we've toured it. And each time it changes, but each time it meets an audience, it has this incredible impact. It feels like an event. It has a punch, and it keeps punching you right to the end. And to me, that feels like a Shakespeare production should feel. There's a reason why this writing has been around for so long, why it's the very best of the best. Because it has a fire, because it has a danger. And productions have to bring that out. And they have to make them feel like they're happening now, for us, in front of us. As ever, Frantic Assembly is committed to touring. We're really excited to be taking the work to 10 different venues across the country. We opened at the Curve Theatre, Leicester, and then on to Liverpool, to Plymouth, York, Guildford, Oxford, Salford, Southampton, Worthing, before the tour ends at the Lyric Hammersmith Theatre in London. I'm really proud of this production, and every time I return to it, I find out something new about it. It teaches me things about me, about the work, about the world. It seems so alive, and I can't wait to get going. I can't wait to get in the room with a new cast and work out what's new this time. What can Othello tell us about our world? And I can't wait to get it in front of new audiences.